While alcohol-related traffic deaths in the U.S. and Texas have declined in recent years, DWI is still a serious problem, as approximately 50% of all traffic deaths in Texas involve alcohol. The blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, necessary for intoxication in Texas is 0.08%. Is this a realistic level? Since intoxication is also defined as loss of normal mental or physical faculties because of any amount of alcohol or other drugs, are persons impaired before reaching 0.08? To seek to determine how drivers perform at different BACs, an experiment was conducted by Texas A&M University Center for Alcohol and Drug Education Studies. A cross-section of drivers was trained to handle a variety of driving maneuvers. Instruction was first provided in a classroom setting to be sure all participants understood the driving sequences to be performed. After training, all drivers were tested to determine their abilities when sober. One group did not consume alcohol and was used to compare with the drivers who did drink. All drivers were tested on standardized field sobriety tests: vision, balance, and reaction time, as well as actual ability to operate a motor vehicle. Instructors from the Texas A&M University's Driver Skill Enhancement Program designed 6 different maneuvers. These involve judgment, fine muscle coordination, and reaction time. All participants received comprehensive training in every phase of the experiment. The simple driving maneuvers, T-turn, blocked lane, and slalom were learned quickly. The more complex maneuvers required additional training. 3 maneuvers: handling a skid, making a quick reaction to a potential emergency, and operating a specially designed vehicle were included to determine if skills required in these areas were more effective than more simple driving maneuvers. The skid pad exercise involved the instructor locking the brakes to cause a skid and having the driver seek to recover from the skid. The crash simulator involved a response to a traffic light which designates the lane into which the vehicle should be steered. The most difficult exercise proved to be the automatically controlled vehicle. A special set of wheels was attached to the rear of a front-wheel drive vehicle. Unless the vehicle is steered and braked in a smooth manner, loss of control occurs. With training, all drivers were able to successfully perform this and all other exercises while sober. After a complete day of training, all participants were tested in a sober condition. Breath tests were given to determine that all drivers had BACs of 0.00 prior to starting the experiment. A detailed scoring procedure was used to provide data on driver ability while sober so that it could be compared with later results on the drinking runs. Scores were based on barrels or cones struck, time, and judgment errors. After all sober pre-tests were completed, the participants in the drinking group began to consume alcoholic beverages of their choice. All drinking was closely monitored to determine the time and amount consumed by each person. When it was estimated that a 0.04 BAC was reached, drinking participants took both breath and blood tests given by licensed DPS chemists and medical technicians. While the readings were very similar, blood test results were slightly higher than breath results. After the desired 0.04 level had been reached, the drinking group repeated all exercises. The non-drinking group was also periodically retested. Before going back to the course, drivers were asked how they would perform.
I feel confident.
Well, I hope I do all right.
I feel all right.
I am going to do horrible on my next driving test.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to do very well in the driving test. Your reflexes, they don't reflect.
Even at .04, which is 1/2 the legal limit in Texas, drivers had difficulty performing the same exercises they did successfully while sober. Most drivers who die in an alcohol-related crash or who are arrested for DWI in Texas have VACs much above .04. For example, the average VAC of fatally injured drivers is .12, and average VAC at arrest is .16. Because of this, the volunteers were asked to consume additional alcohol so that tests could be run when they had reached higher VAC levels. This was done, and the VAC and all tests were repeated. The test runs at the higher BAC levels showed a significant decline in performance compared to those of low BAC levels, although losses of ability had been found at the .04 level. While many drivers reacted quickly to the emergency situations, they could not perform the maneuver successfully. Their judgment and handling skills were greatly impaired as compared to sober trials. This was especially apparent in the skid pad and auto control exercises, where small judgment and handling errors produced great loss of control. As might be expected, those maneuvers involving the most judgment were not only the most difficult to perform while sober, skids, auto control, and crash simulator, but were also the most affected as BAC levels rose.
So you're gonna go straight up the hill and you're gonna stop in the box like we did before.
That box over there.
Yeah, but now it's over here.
What?
Okay.
Cameras were installed inside the vehicles to record the actions and comments of drivers as they performed the exercises after drinking.
The one thing I've noticed myself is my reaction time is slower. A lot slower.
All right. Best I did yet. All right. Is that my imagination, or the car accelerated a lot faster? It's a little bit slicker than yesterday. Or is it the alcohol? Okay.
Fly out.
How'd that one go?
I think I ran over somebody back then.
The drinking group also had performance losses on balance. Steadiness, reaction time, field sobriety tests,
2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2024, 5.
Okay, you must stop.
and glare as BAC increased. Results of this study demonstrated that at BACs of 0.04, which is 1/2 the legal limit, drivers have a difficult time handling all driving situations, but especially those which require quick decisions and fine motor skills. The experimental group scores on the complex skills declined an average of 13% at 0.04 BAC, 17% at 0.07, and 24% at 0.10 BAC, while the control group's ability was unchanged. Losses were less apparent at 0.04 for the simpler tasks, but were evident by the time 0.07 BAC had been reached. Although not all drinking drivers' abilities declined equally, all performed worse than they did in a sober condition. Fortunately, no one was hurt due to the mistakes of these drivers who drove after drinking. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for drinking drivers who make similar errors on the streets and highways of Texas.